Hello tankers and tankettes, welcome to a viewer replay. This is from Stony LEPI, but I think we're just going to call him Stony, because if I have to say Stony LEPI or even Stony Leppy, Stony Leppy's almost as awkward somehow, so let's just stick with Stony. And he's in the US Tier 9 heavy tank, the M103. I actually find it quite interesting that they actually built this thing. This was basically the last US heavy tank that was ever kind of built and saw operational service, and it's an okay machine. You know, it's a good all-rounder, like the T110E5 that comes after it. Uses the same firepower, and it is a bit of a step change from the two tanks that come before it, of course the T29 and the T32, which are all about the turret armor. This is more about the gun. The guns get better on this, and it's also interesting because you don't necessarily have to have the top gun to progress to the tier 10. There are a lot of lines where you do. The research tree is such that it makes you grind out the XP for the top gun in order to progress even to the next tank. This isn't the case with the M103. You can actually get the middle gun, which is, I think, also 100. I think they're both 120mm guns. I can't remember now. But I think they both are. But the top gun, which is also the gun that you get on the T110E5, it's optional for the M103. You can get that middle gun and then just go straight through to the T110E5. And essentially, you've cut yourself out like 50-60k XP worth of grinding. I actually went for the top gun on this, even though I didn't have to, because my experience of using that middle gun left me a bit frustrated with the M103. The top gun, just the extra buff to things like aim time and accuracy, I actually vastly preferred it. And even though it was a longer grind, I don't think looking back at it, I think I still would do it that way today as well. So, this is a tier 10 game, obviously. There's a couple of RTs per side. And the matchmaking isn't too bad. There's some tier 10s. Oh, this is a bit of a mistake though. And there's also a couple of very unlucky tier 8s on each team. In fact, our team, Stoney's team, has got a tier 7. He's got an SU-122-44, who's obviously in a platoon with somebody. But anyway, yeah, he kind of misplayed there. He drove out sideways and took a hit for his trouble. And he's kind of lucky he didn't take another hit on top of that, because there were actually 2 tanks looking down that way. In fact, 3. There was the M103, the IS-3, and something else that was a heavy tank as well. Tiger 2, maybe? But yeah, he's actually decided, we can see from the minimap there's a 1390 coming up on the side of the field. This waffle is here as well, and Stoney's decided to go and help out. Just in case, I guess, a lot of when I'm doing viewer replays and I'm saying, oh yeah, he's doing this for that reason and whatever, it's mostly speculation on my part. Sometimes, oh, that missed though. Sometimes it's like they actually say in the email or in the replay description, I was doing this at this point because. But most of the time it's me kind of guessing based on what they're doing, what their intentions were. And I have to say, Stony, he gets quite lucky at parts in this. There's other parts where he sort of makes bad calls and gets away with it, but sometimes games are like that. Sometimes luck is as big a factor as actually playing well. So anyway, that ST1 is, oh yeah, he just got hit hard. We know there are a pair of Jagdpanzer E100s very close by, and Stony is, oh, that missed though. Is that Tiger 2 still there? The IS-3 probably is as well, but Stony is sort of alone here. I mean, there's an E100 that's kind of behind them, but that's a Jagdpanzer E100 that's looking him in the face. And yes, there's a wreck between them, but he doesn't really want to hang around here because, yeah, I mean, he's watching these guys' backs, but the Jagdpanzer E100 is going to have no problem penning the hull. And the lower front plate of the, oh, it burns, it hurts, no, my face, my beautiful face. Even just watching that was painful. Yeah, while, like I said, him still being there meant that he was getting spotted. Artillery shell, the arty splash he could have done nothing about, but that other Jagdpanzer E100 perfectly flanked him. Paid the price heavily for doing so, however. But Stony is now very, very close to death indeed. So that was sort of unfortunate, and it felt like he was dithering a little bit in this position, like he didn't quite know where to go, and he was faced with potentially a pair of Jagdpanzer E100s, and that hesitation cost him dearly. Now, it's very easy for me to say, like I say, you know, there's a lot of what I say is kind of based on me guessing what people's intentions were. It's also very easy to say, oh well, he did this wrong and he did that wrong, and from a post-battle analysis point of view, it can be correct and sometimes useful to say stuff like that. But of course, when you're in the thick of battle, things are never quite that simple, and sometimes making the right call can be very, very difficult indeed. So, yeah, I'm not hopefully coming across as being too critical when I say things like that, like being overly harsh. Like sometimes you hesitate, and hesitating about the course of action can be as bad as making the wrong course of action. And in that case, it cost him nearly his tank, but he's in the game, just about. So, yeah. Now, the team lists are very even at the moment. This ST1, he's managed a couple of snapshots, but snapshotting in ST1 is quite difficult. Like, the ST1 has its weak points, but you really need to sit and be able to aim at those weak points. Stony can't really afford to sit and aim at the moment, not when he's facing the front of a tank, definitely. However, that's not the front of a tank, and that's unfortunately a low roll, but he would have had to have a reasonably high roll to kill that E100 outright. However, the fact that he did roll low means that they've lost that friendly E100, so that's a bit unfortunate. So there's been some kind of lucky RNG and unlucky RNG so far. Oh, there we go. I was going to say that that E100 dying could be fairly decisive, but we don't know yet. This IS-4 is low health, and that T-62A, this is not looking good right now. That T-62A could easily kill both these people. He can afford to take the hit. Now he does take a splash from Artie. Oh my god! Yep, that happened. Yeah. Well, now you can sort of see why I chose this replay. Yep. My speculation is that the arty splash that that T-62A got just before he went round that corner wasn't enough to track him, but it was enough to damage his ammo rack. And then Stony just that shell, 1500 damage with one shot. I mean, if there's a point to this game, it is that RNG, it giveth as much as it taketh away. We're a tank down because he rolled low on that shot, and he was very lucky in that he didn't get killed by Artie. You know, if he'd taken a bit more damage from that Object 261, the Jaegeru could have killed him. The Jaegeru, I think, actually, what's the heat shell average? Is it 1150, 1100, 1050? I'd have to look that up. But if the Jaegeru had rolled higher, he would now be dead. And if artillery hadn't, if the RNG of Artie, we could say Artie saved the day in this one, kind of, maybe. But it wasn't skill that turned that enemy T-62A ammo rack yellow. It was all RNG, really. So the fact that Artie was able to splash that guy, yeah, but this game sometimes, I mean, skill counts for a lot, but other times you get matches like this where the RNG is very much out in full force and can really affect how things go. So if that T-62A hadn't been ammo racked, I mean, the fact that the ammo rack was turned yellow, I don't even know if it was. It might not have been. It might have been all Stoney's shot that ammo racked him, in which case that's incredibly lucky. But even if it was turned yellow by artillery, there are still various dice throws involved with hitting a yellow ammo rack. It's still possible that that will not explode. So the amount of luck involved in this is just a bit ridiculous. So anyway, I mean, not that he hasn't been using his brain at various points, and yeah, he's made a few misplays, and yeah, he's gotten lucky, and that last shell was certainly lucky, but... Oh, that miss, though. You've still got to keep your wits about you. You've got to take advantage of those lucky situations coming up. You can't just rely on the luck. You actually have to take advantage of it. So he knows he was spotted, and there's that 55, who's fairly fast firing, but not fast firing enough to get another shot off, so that's fine. HE shell into the superstructure. We know where the Object 261 was, and the Object 261 next to the Batchat arties is probably one of the more mobile high tier arties. He was actually able to get all the way up to A1, and Stoney's got the idea that he's going to sit in this corner because there's a bunch of destructible objects here, and maybe he was thinking if he sat in that corner and didn't, you know, deliberately didn't knock any of those destructible objects over, he would maybe fool that enemy arty. But at this point he just drives out the cap circle altogether, and okay, his own arty's there very nearly, but if their arty had gone for our cap, I don't know. I don't know that the risk was entirely justified in driving out of the cap at this stage. I personally would have at least waited until the friendly arty was in the cap. But we don't know where that 261 is. He could be going for our cap. But it turns out he came back. So, again, this was a bit lucky. I'm not convinced that driving out of the cap there was the right call. I think under the circumstances, sitting in the cap and capping with the friendly artillery that survived would have been the right thing to do. But as it is, it's kind of worked out. The enemy arty has come back. He has driven all the way back down from the north of the map, and I'm not quite sure why. But I guess kudos to that enemy arty for at least trying. He wasn't content to just sit on his laurels. He actually wanted to try and see if he could reset, even though the odds were against him. But it didn't work out. So there we go. There was a fair amount of luck involved in that battle, I think we'll agree. I mean, Stoney kept his head at the right moments, but if he hadn't taken that first early shot, he would have been in a much less perilous situation for the most of that battle. On the other hand, if we look at the results screen, we will see he got a Bruno's medal. And it's because he took all that damage and survived somehow that he got a Bruno's medal. I'm just actually going to read out the description because you don't see the Bruno's medal very often. It goes, awarded to players who destroy 3 or 4 enemy vehicles and survive the battle to victory despite receiving at least 5 different critical hits and losing 80% or more of your hit points. So you have to take a fair old battering and do, get a fair number of kills and take a lot of critical damage to get a Bruno's medal. So it's one of these ones, it's kind of like, I think Belot's is similar, that you have to have a certain amount of critical module damage. It's kind of unpredictable, you know, things like a steel wall are sort of more, or maybe the artillery ones are more predictable, because you kill X number of artillery, and you can do that on purpose. You can think, right, I'm going to go for a Pascucci's medal here. But a Bruno's medal, you just can't. Yeah, it's going to happen or it's not. And the conditions of it are such that it's not going to happen very often. But in this battle, it did. Apart from that, it was also an ace mastery. He also got his second gun mark on that battle for the M103. A big chunk of his damage was from that one shot. 1,500 damage with one shell. So I hope you don't mind me saying this, Stoney, but that was a hell of a lucky battle. I mean, I think it was fairly entertaining to watch as well, but there was a fair amount of luck in that. I don't think it's unfair to say that at all. So, yeah, there you go, the M103. I didn't keep mine, but I think it's a fairly decent tank. I've actually probably still got a couple of my own replays saved from when I was grinding through it, but yeah. If you enjoyed the M103, you'll probably like the 110E5 after it, because it does everything the M103 does, but with better armour and better gun handling. Although it does have that annoying mini turret thing going on, so yeah, I don't drive my 110E5 so much. There are other tier 10 heavies that I will take out in preference to that. So anyway, Bruno's medal, there you go. If you enjoyed this video, you can leave any comments below, you can hit the like button, you can subscribe to my channel, and as always, stay tuned for more.